you. So a few days ago, you guys know Amir, right? He was down here, and we were talking about how kids actually start making friends now. So in India, our school life was kind of different. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I had a lot of freedom when I was at school. Like, I used to, for one, going to school, coming back, sure, but after I come back home, uh, I can just go out and I can play with my friends. And I used to do that until, I don't know, I had to do homework or something. And a lot of times it was just because, oh, there's people who live nearby, there's people who live on the same street, and that's how you become friends. But nowadays, when kids actually, and this is just because of the way the technology is, like, I'm sure if we had this option, we would have taken it. But when kids get home, their friends from school all jump online and they're playing Fortnite or they're playing Dota or they're playing some game where the game is just the thing that they're doing, but they're actually just hanging out. They're talking. They have their headsets on. They're chatting the whole time. It's a whole different dimension to the social interaction, isn't it? Where now, one, they have an option of actually spending the entire day with their friends from school, which we never had. Like, unless they're actually coming over for a sleepover or something, which was, I don't know, once a year maybe. Uh, we didn't have that option. Like, we couldn't actually spend the entire day with our friends from school, but they can. What do you guys think? Like, how has this change in technology actually changed that social interaction for the better or for the worse?
I personally think if that's really what's happening, then till the age of 15, it's bad, irrespective, because it's going
Okay.
to chew into your time which you could spend doing something else. And personally, I know this because I have done it, as you all know, my Dota exploits.
Yes.
So, um, but I don't regret it as well. Uh, During college, it was more of how to keep my brain like focused in one space.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I think a lot, and it doesn't take a lot of time for me to go into overthinking mode. And it's not like I'm doing destructive overthinking, but it's like sort of I don't want to call it ADHD, but it's sort of like that. Like I I go in different
Mm.
directions, keep jumping from
Mm.
one place to the other. Um,
Mm.
but Dota helped me focus my energy a lot. And s- during that time, I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. But I became so hyper focused that I didn't know what was going around me. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying, like, if that's what's happening till the age of 15 for kids, then it's bad. But frankly, I have my niece over here. Sorry, not niece, my cousin actually. You guys met Arya, right? She's
The Harry
sh
Potter champion.
the Harry Potter champion, yeah. Um, but she has a social life, but I think most of her friends uh, are in person. Like they just meet up and do things, and they are like society friends, some sort
Yeah.
of like that. But that might just be because birds of the same feather flock together type thing.
So, when I was a kid, the people I used to spend time with or hang out with dictated what sort of person I became. And that was very true. Like, when I used to hang out with different people, I kind of felt that I was a different person with each of them, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
when you're doing the same thing on social media or just online in general, like in games, dying is not such a big thing because you know you're going to respawn. You're fine. You know that the game wants you to keep playing. So even if you don't do well, you'll eventually do well. There, there's that change that happens where, oh, my actions have no consequences. Where you suddenly become this other person who does not think about the consequences of what they might be doing, which I find really important because in my interactions with the interactions that I remember, the ones that I like, were when I was kind to someone, when I actually had a friend who I was meeting and they were going through something and I was actually kind and I was like, I was a good guy when I was back in school. I don't know. And it's not the 80% of stuff that I used to do. It's the 20% where which you remember, and I think that's actually what's shaped me. So if you move this entire interaction to a platform where there are no consequences, where you can hide behind fake accounts, and you can hide behind anything really. There's 100 ways to hide online, and you can troll someone, you can bully someone, all without consequences. How do you think that affects this whole thing of making friendship? And is that what's actually making it harder to become friends?
Right? Like if you have a public profile on social media, you face all of this on a very regular basis. Like you see people like commenting on your posts because, and I don't know, like I don't have an opinion on it, but I feel like if your profile is public, they say that they have the right to comment whatever they want on it because you made it public. So that's how they back their statements, that's how they back the things that they do.
Mm.
But it does affect the creator regardless. It does affect
Yeah.
you if you go to your comments and you see people like commenting on your features, like on the way that you look, your body, on like if you're someone who talks, people, like if you give out a lot of opinions, people will talk about your opinions, and it's your opinion, right? You're not
Yeah.
necessarily telling others what to do, you're just giving your opinion. But it's like people just feel entitled to say whatever they want. And and many celebrities have spoken about it in interviews as well, is that it affects them in a very bad way. Like people have gone into like depression, people have gotten anxiety, people are taking therapy for it because they have to face these trolls every single day. But they don't have an option because most of their work, like their money, their
Mm.
finances, it all comes from social media. So we live in this kind of a weird world where you have to learn how to face it, like you have to learn how to
Yeah.
brave that if you want to
Yeah.
be successful and if you want to continue to do it. But at the same time, like if you talk about kids, like I have my nieces and nephews who like they all have iPads. You know that they like
Mm.
schools also ask you, like if you go to a private school today, I don't know about public schools, but if you go to a private school, they say, oh, you should have a laptop and you should have like an
Yeah.
iPad and you should have this and that, because a lot of they have a lot of like e-learning platforms and things
Yeah.
that you can do virtually. And I think COVID has influenced this a lot. So
Yeah.
there is some form of technology in every single person's hand, whether you're a kid, whether you're a teenager, whether you're an adult. And I think that's how it kind of affects you in different ways.
Yeah.
But you can't get rid of it. I feel like you
And
can't stay away.
like if you don't get exposure to those things, like personally, I didn't have exposures to video games so much. Like in my house, I didn't have a computer on which I could play video games till I was in 12th standard. Like I had a computer since first standard, but I couldn't play games on it. So
Mm.
it's like
Yeah.
if I had that exposure before, maybe I wouldn't have played Dota as much as I played after 12th standard.
Yeah.
I used to play games since I was 4 years old, right? And there were friends that I knew that who played a lot of Dota or League of Legends and other massively multiplayer games, right? Those world building games, and I've seen them sidetrack from their goals.
Mm.
Unfortunately, they are not doing anything right now. They're just sitting
Yeah.
at home doing nothing. So I did see that bad phase as well. So that was also one of the reasons that I decided to stay away from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if
And I think you're
sure,
making the case for technology, aren't you? Like the reason that you had this technology from
yeah,
like early on, like Tanvi was saying, like all the kids have computers, they have iPads.
it's
It's
the
not
same thing.
necessarily a bad thing,
Yeah,
right? Like
Yeah,
it gives you that exposure because you're eventually going to get them. You're
so
yeah,
eventually
what
going to have
exactly.
The
this.
thing
But
what
is,
what I'm trying to say
you
is what I'm
fall
trying to say
back.
is it's the
yeah.
same thing, right? So with the advent of AI, right, there's also experts cautioning about how to practice safe AI, right? How to be extra careful around AI,
Hmm.
what we should be, what guard bands we should have, right? around AI. So it's the same thing, right? What guard bands do you think you can put yourself around technology, right? Hey, so maybe limiting the usage, right? So maybe just a couple of hours a day, or just maybe playing a few games, right, with your friends. So I think that limitation is important. If you hear or if you see bad examples of it, you try to learn from it, right? At that
I feel like,
appropriate age.
once you become an adult, once you start having like your own opinions, you start understanding things better, you can put those restrictions on yourself, because then you start to recognize what is good for you, what is bad for you, and then you can start doing that. But I feel like when you're in the age of 13 to 19, you get influenced
Yeah, you
so
get
much.
influenced a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
By
and
the
it's
time
very
you
easy to get addicted
yeah,
to
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
very easy to get
anything.
addicted, and it's very
Yeah.
easy to get carried away with that
Yeah.
addiction. So
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like it's a very tough job for parents also, because it's like you want to give your child that space, but then at the same time you want to limit their use of like technology, or look at the things that they are doing with that technology. So I feel like it's a very tough job nowadays, because technology is in so many people's hands, and you can control it, but I feel like you can only control it to a certain level, because unless you're like
Exactly.
fully involved in your child's life, it's very difficult to see that. And nobody wants to be involved in that way, right? People want to give their child their space and
Yeah.
all of that, so it's like a very tricky line that you don't know, like what to